Some people take shots, but others, they deliver.
That's right. 3-1. 3-1.
Straight cash, homie.
Where else can you get this kind of information but right here, right now? Sure Shot coming up.
Holiday stimulus package now.
Let's talk about some of our wins from last week. Not that I want to beat him over the head with it, but just let him know. You had a couple good ones there. And my one loss is the one you called.
Yeah, it was the Raiders over Philly.
Yep.
I mean, come on. Philly's confused, man. I think they got issues. Nick Sirianni is clearly over his head.
You think so?
As a head coach.
I'm going to tell you, I don't know. But speaking about head coach, let's talk about the Raiders for a bit, because ever since they got rid of Gruden, they're playing like world beaters.
Well,
and remember, Gruden's last game was a loss at home to Chicago.
But the point I'm trying to make with the Raiders is right now they're playing on emotion. They got this, all right, we lost
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I can see that happening. But look at the interesting juxtaposition that Baltimore had their 2 weeks in a row when they had to come back. They just didn't have enough gas. Sooner or later, the air is going to come out of the Raiders, and we're going to find out if their special teams coordinator really can coach. Is he going to be able to man the troops together? And then when you would assume Kansas City is going to fix themselves in the AFC West, Denver's a
mess. Forget it.
Yeah, and really it looks like it's the Chargers to lose out there. I'm just not quite ready. I was buying the Raiders until the Gruden fiasco. I just think that you can play on emotion all the way through. It's almost like, remember when Washington lost Sean Taylor?
Yeah.
They played with such great emotion and such fight, and then they ran out of gas at the end of the season. I'm sensing that may be the similar type of thing that's going on with the boys in black.
Well, I'm not looking for the Raiders to be a Super Bowl pick or even an AFC Championship pick. Definitely a playoff team. The team that flew under the radar until last week are those Cincinnati Bengals.
But I was on them.
Well, you were on them to cover. I think you said that because they got 7.5, and in a division game, 7.5 is a lot. So like you said, Cincinnati was going to cover but not necessarily win, but the whipping they put on Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. And let me go over 2 stats that jump right out at you. Joe Burrow, 23 for 38 for 416-yard passing. The leading rusher of that game, Lamar Jackson, 12 carries for 88 yards. Until Lamar starts doing less of that and more of that, 23 of 38 for 416, they're not going to be able to get over that hump.
It sounded like those analysts on TV who want him to stay in the pocket, which he was trying to do, but he has nobody blocking for him. Villanueva has been trashed in the acquisition from
Why'd they pick him up when Pittsburgh let him go?
That's terrible.
And they always do that, and it never works out.
You used to think they would learn at some point.
Pittsburgh's cast-offs in Baltimore work like Dallas cast-offs do in D.C. It never works.
No, sir.
It's all in water. If it goes back the opposite direction, it seems to invariably work. The baddest man in Baltimore last week wasn't Joe Burrow. It wasn't Lamar Jackson. It was Jamar Chase. Did you see the way he just pulled away and left people? And I'm sorry, Baltimore. Let's pump the brakes on this Marlon Humphrey stuff. He's not a shutdown corner. You can't give him one side of the field. He's not a dominant player. And he can't tackle. I mean, you put it into the mix, that sounds like, to me, overrated. And come on, man. Chase and CeeDee Lamb right now, to me, are the best receivers in football, and they are balling.
Here's the interesting thing about it. Not one expert would have picked the Bengals.
No. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No. 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 Hell no. 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 I refuse. No. No.
To win the AFC North, or as the favorites to win the AFC North at the beginning of the season, it would have been Baltimore, it would have been Cleveland. A few people may have picked the Steelers just on, an old school look. But right now, Cincinnati's in the driver's seat, 2-0 in the division. They are really turning it up. And one more team that we got to talk about, two more teams getting a comeback. Tennessee taking out Kansas City convincingly. And let's not make any excuses for Patrick Mahomes. He was there to play and he was healthy, but Tennessee just shuts him down.
About the only thing I can really smile about from that game is the fact that Ryan Tannehill is my quarterback, and he is straight balling. I mean, when you look at what he's giving to that team right now, you can make a compelling argument that were he not a teammate, Derrick Henry, he'd be in the MVP conversation. I don't know if he would win it, but I would say a quarterback right now, and he's making all the throws. He looks like he's better at this point in the season than he was last year. I'm telling you right now, I don't know how he's not sexy in fantasy, but he is a stat scrambler. Yeah, he's putting up great numbers for me right now. Now, if my coach could make his way over to the fantasy, I only do one league of integrity, and if the coach would make sure his lineups were set by Thursday instead of waiting until Sunday, we would be better than 3-3.
One more team I got to throw at you before we get to Corey. The Colts. The Colts are sneaking up.
They are.
Sneaky good. They're 3-4, so they're still one game under 500, but they are getting it done. I think Carson Wentz has found his feet. The defense has turned it up. Look for the Colts to make some noise as we go into midseason.
Unless Carson Wentz gets hurt. We taking any money lines on how many more games before he
I say he finishes the season.
Wow.
Finishes the season.
How much you going to lay on that?
I'll lay a stack on it.
Wow. Plus 1,000? Not ready to go that high. Anyway, we'll figure out what our Sultan of the Sportsbook has to say about that. Corey Parson is next as we roll on with the Sure Shot. Here's our Sultan of the Sportsbook. Corey Parson joins us right now from NBC Sports Edge as we continue with Sure Shot. Chad and I between us, 6-2 against the spread last week. Tough week, though, for a lot of people. If you waited, it seems like it worked to your benefit, huh?
Yeah, I think I didn't have the best week. I hit that Carolina number early, knowing it was going to go to 3. Carolina at -2.5. They spit the bit, so that was terrible. The Philadelphia Eagles, another team I caught early, caught them at +3 before they went down to +2.5. They scored first, it looked good, didn't make a difference. The Raiders end up rolling them. And then the Baltimore Ravens were a big letdown this week also. Also caught that one early at -6.5, thinking it would eventually move to 7. It didn't. And the Ravens got rolled pretty good by the Bengals. But listen, I think so far, out of a 7-week season, I've had 2 bad weeks. So I'll take 5 weeks of consistent winnings and 2 weeks going backwards because we're still going to be profitable. And what I got to try not to do now, Mark, is not blow my NFL bankroll betting on these basketball games.
It's too early in the season, man. They just don't have enough texture yet. Although, who knew that you could have been betting on a heavyweight fight between Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard?
Wow.
That was for the heavyweight championship of Lakertown. Anyway, let's talk about the home field advantage thing, which is no longer a home field advantage. See, Road Warriors were getting it in, and no place was that personified more than in Baltimore, where Cincinnati went to Baltimore. But here's the deal. The reason I took that is because the Bengals just play well in Baltimore. They've been beating Baltimore in Baltimore since the days of T.J. Houshmandzadeh and Chad Johnson. How did so many people miss?
Lamar Jackson is 3-1 ATS, and I'm talking about laying big numbers against the Bengals. It didn't shake out. We see that this Bengals team is for real now. But yeah, when you talk about the fallacy of the home field advantage, you see it very heavily in the NFL right now. Home road teams are excellent. Road underdogs are playing very well against the number. Also, road favorites playing very well against the number. So maybe that comes from an adjustment from last season with the COVID year, with fans not being in the stands. You really haven't seen that push towards home teams. Also, in about a week of worth of NBA data, we're seeing road teams also start to excel and be good ATS on in the National Basketball Association. So as somebody that handicaps these games, you kind of got to take less consideration, give less consideration to the home field advantage or the home court advantage. You look at the Toronto Raptors. They open up at home versus the Wizards, I believe it was, and they get ran out the gym. And this is a team that hasn't been in their home building in over a year because they were playing in Tampa last year. We all know how big and boisterous that Raptor fan base is. They drop a complete dud on their home court. Then the Raptors go on the road and start getting victories. So be wary of that home field / home court advantage.
So no longer road dog, it's home dog. How about that? It's crazy. Speaking of dogs, what happened to Kansas City? And when you see them, I think that early in the week, you were able to get them as a 2.5 point underdog coming up this week. Do you just stay away from Kansas City right now? Because ultimately they're going to break out, you would assume, offensively. Or is this just the lay of the egg year?
They're not a playoff team right now. They're no bet until you really figure out what's going on there. At one point, you could definitely look at and point to the turnovers being a very critical part of their issue. Now, even when they don't turn the football over, they're not scoring the football. Another thing that you can look at is, for years, knowing Andy Reid, there was a Brian Westbrook, there was a Jamal Charles, there was a Shady McCoy. There is no dominant running back in Kansas City now. It's just throw. But Mark, I would think the biggest thing is what you're seeing is people are taking Tyreek Hill away. And they're not giving the Chiefs that quick bam shot at Tyreek Hill, and they're making them work the football down the field and doubling, you double Kelsey, you cover Hill over the top, and all of a sudden, this is where you're supposed to be running the football. And it's like they're too impatient to run the football, which has been a knock against Andy Reid ever since he was in Philadelphia.
Yeah, even when he had Brian Westbrook, he wasn't running the football enough. So he definitely has a penchant to pass. Let's talk about the NFC for a second. I guess there are like 5 legitimate teams in the National Football Conference right now, which are contenders. What about everybody else?
Well, Mark, this year you take 7 teams to the playoffs. And so really outside of that top 5, which include Dallas, the Buccaneers, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Green Bay Packers, outside of that top 5, you really are starting to see those last 2 spots can go to anybody. And there's value to be had there with some of these to make or miss the playoffs bets. Right now, the Atlanta Falcons are plus 300 to make the playoffs. That's a fantastic bet for a team that very well could be in the playoffs. Carolina Panthers plus 725. The quarterback situation is kind of funky, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to bet on a team like them. But you look at the Chicago Bears, if they can get it together, get a couple victories together, they run the football extremely well. They could be there. Seattle, who looks to be out of it, you know what I'm saying? They get Russell Wilson back. They could once again be a contender to make the playoffs. Don't forget Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. So you're getting all of these teams at plus money right now. If you can now win on the right one, it can be very profitable the rest of the way.
Speaking of profitability, how can people make money off the World Series?
I mean, I think I'm betting on the Braves. And then Lamar, I'm sitting here with a Yankee hat on. So it could be like you're hating on the Astros. I could very well be, Mark. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is I'm going to ride the dog in the Astros in the World Series. I'm going to bet them to win the series, put something down on them at plus money to win the series. And basically my defense is they beat the best team in the Dodgers. So why not the Braves?
Point well taken. I mean, I think they free swing a little bit too much to win the Classic. But to your point, they bludgeon the Dodgers, and they're doing it without Ronald Acuna Jr. And we're looking at,
Eddie Rosario
at
10-1 to win the World Series MVP. That's a fantastic bet.
What about Ozzie Albies?
he's a good player. I remember him since his first pitch Arizona days when he was coming up through the Arizona Fall League. Just a dominant offensive talent. They've done a very good job cultivating that offensive talent in that system, getting them up to the big leagues and getting them there with Freddie Freeman in the mix. And listen, the Braves, they're very resilient. I knew that, I figured all season long that a team from that National League East was going to be a player down the stretch. Didn't know who that team was going to be, but it ended up being the Braves, which probably would have been the best bet considering that the Mets are in that. I'm sorry.
You had to get that dig in with interlocking NY on top of your head. Oh, man. And you'll be interested in knowing that for MLBBro.com, I interviewed Ellis Burks, the former Red Sox and San Francisco Giant. Why was he wearing a Dallas Cowboy hat?
How about that? Dallas Cowboy, America's team.
I almost had to pull the stripes off of him, but we love him, though. Anyway, that is Corey Parson, our Sultan of the Sportsbook. Don't forget, you can find him on NBC Sports Edge, giving away freebies, huh?
Yeah, and so far, so good. So can't complain about that.
And those freebies come out on Friday, right?
They'll be up there, but before 9 a.m. Friday morning, and they'll take you all the way through Sunday night.
That will make you the candy man, bro. You know, oh, sugar. Anyway, that's Corey Parson. Check him out at NBC Sports Edge, and we'll have him back next week on the Sure Shot. Thanks a lot, dog, as always.
My man.
All right, Chad, let's get right to it. Corey's dropped the knowledge on us. We know where he's coming from. So we're fueled by the prognosticator extraordinaire. Let's get right to it. Let's open this up, man. Who you got?
You got it. Game one, Pittsburgh, +3.5 at Cleveland. Let me let you in on a little secret. Ben Roethlisberger's career record in Cleveland is 11-2-1. The Steelers are coming off a bye and are rested and healthy, while the Browns are without the star of those Progressive commercials. And he also plays quarterback. Let me tell you, a field goal game this is. Take the Steelers and the points. As long as that stays at 3.5, creeps up a little bit more, stay with the Steelers. Who you got game one?
Well, in my game one, I got to go with the Los Angeles Chargers at -5.5.
At home, right?
At home.
Okay.
Over the New England Patriots. I think that what we took last week was we saw the growing pains that will continue. We're talking about guys having success, then he drops off, he comes back out. This is one of those grow-up moments.
I don't know, though. He looked good 2 games in a row. He looked good against Dallas, so they took an L. They looked good last week when they put up, 54?
Yeah.
But that was against Houston. So.
Exactly. So now, here we go against the Chargers. A good team, a team that's balanced on both sides of the ball. They can run, they can pass, and I just don't think. And again, this ain't the Patriots defense that we used to, man. So I'm gonna go with not only the Chargers, but the Chargers to cover, and I have them at 5.5 right now as we record.
Right. So you got to check those lines. Check the comment section. We'll let you know if the line jumps up or down. All right. Game two for me, Dallas, -2.5 at Minnesota in another game with a team coming off of a bye. We have the Cowboys traveling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Now, the line opened up with the Cowboys at 2.5, and I expect that line to grow with the money going on Dallas. Keep your eye on the line to see where it's at. This is another one where you have to get in while the getting is good. Take the Cowboys again while the number is low. As long as you can grab this one at 3.5 or so, it's a bet.
Yeah, once it gets around 7.
At 5. I don't like 5.
Well, I
don't like anything over 5.
Well, there's going to be a lot of money, I think, that comes on Minnesota. And I think that.
On Minnesota?
Yeah.
I think the money's going to come on Dallas, but okay.
Okay. I just get the feeling that the anti-Cowboy apologists might
bet against them.
Might bet against them just for the sake of it. And so be mindful of that line later in the week. Again, we record early in the week, so it could change. All right, game number 2 for me. I got a play shamelessly to the home folks, grudgingly, but I'm feeling good. Last week, I didn't think Baltimore would cover. This week, I think Washington wins and covers in Denver, and I will take Washington and the 4 points. Look, I never thought I'd say this, but it's not gas either. Washington may have the better quarterback in this game. And
maybe.
He might.
Are you going to stop hating on Justin Herbert?
Well, I'm not. Remember,
Hanky?
it's hard because I don't think he has the arm strength to be an effective quarterback in the long term. But in one shining moment, if you will, in Denver, this is going to buy him another 5 weeks for the team to go in the tank in Washington, believing in a guy that is a wonderful story, just not an NFL quarterback. That being said, Denver's defense ain't the same. Von Miller ain't the same. If there's a breakout party, I think Washington needs a cure. It's Denver, and I take the burgundy and gold -4.
Yeah,
Gets up around the touchdown, lay off.
Yeah, I don't know, man. We're counting on Washington to score some points here, even though they do get 4. But like you said, the Denver defense sure has fell off, man.
Denver can't score either.
Guys, and they can't stop anybody.
Right.
So
it's going to be a shootout.
A shootout with Washington. Now, that's funny. Let me get to game 3. LA Rams -14.5 at Houston. I told you last week, Houston was sleepwalking through the season, and after that 31-5 beat down by the Cardinals, I guess you could say I was right. Well, here we are again with Houston at home against the Rams, and you know what? They're still sleeping.
Wow.
Take the Rams, lay the 14.5. Try to get in this one before it gets up to 17, although we anticipate the line to grow. Try to get in while the getting is good. Keep that one around that 14-15 number, and I would sleep easy on that one.
Wow, 2 touchdowns. That's not even rich for your budget.
No.
And,
Houston.
anyway, I'm going to take what?
One of them.
Washington. Dallas. Did I do Dallas over Minnesota?
I
already?
did Dallas, but you go ahead and you can copy off my paper. Get that one.
All right, let's go with all right, next up, I'm going with Dallas. 2.5 points right now over Minnesota. Look, I never buy into Kirk Cousins. There are reports out of Minnesota. There's a little bit of dissension amongst the defensive side of the football. They're not feeling them right now. It's just something about Minnesota that seems to be off. To me, they should be a team right now in that division that is assuming command, and they're a very week-to-week team.
Right.
And I mean weak spelled with an A. So with that being said, I think they just weak enough to lose to Dallas, and Dallas wins. And I got it at 2.5 early in the week.
Yeah.
If it gets around 4.5 to 5, that could be a little dicey. Dallas is going to win the game. It really comes down to the line. So, again, keep your eyes fixed on the comments as we update them as we get closer to kickoff.
All right. Well, for my sure shot, I know I warned you all about Tom Brady. I know I said stay away from Tampa Bay. But this week, we have Tampa Bay at -4.5 at New Orleans. So we're bringing him back. My man, Tom Brady. Don't you try to hurt him. I see that look you're giving him, too. Let me bring him back. Tampa is too good for the Saints to keep this one under 7. Take Tom Brady and Tampa Bay to win this one. Look, man. Come on. Leave
I
Tom
just want
alone.
one shot.
One shot?
One sure shot.
Psych. Nah, keep Tom like this. He got to get me some money today. Go ahead and give me your sure shot.
All right. Since I can't take a shot at Brady, I'll take a shot at the New York Jets. That's right. The Cincinnati Bengals are a 10-point favorite opening up the beginning of the week. I like Cincinnati to cover that at 10. If it drops even lower, grab it. Please. Look.
I don't think it's going to drop. I think it's going to grow.
Well, here's the deal. The Jets are terrible.
That's terrible.
I don't care what quarterback they put up under center right now. They shipped Sam Darnold. Things got worse with Zach Wilson. I don't think that Vinny Testaverde or Chad Pennington could come back right now and do any worse than them. And, oh, yeah, by the way, since Mark Sanchez's media career seems to be, grinding, bring him back. The Jets are just terrible. You feel bad for Robert Saleh. His defense can't work. And then you've got Cincinnati, Joe Burrow. Let's put some respect on that man's name.
You better.
He is up in that same category with Josh Allen and Justin Herbert. And next year we will be talking about him the same way we talked about Patrick Mahomes. He's that dude. And the number 2 receiver in the game right now next to CeeDee Lamb, to me, is Jamar Chase. I really love the position that Cincinnati is in by double digits to cover against the Jets.
Easy.
That's my sure shot
I
for
like
the
it.
week.
Good one. Good stimulus package there, Mark.
There it
I
is,
like
man. Get ready. Get that kid that video game. Remember, STEM lies ahead.
That's right. And you could also get a Tom Brady doll at your local dollar store. Keep him nice and comfy and safe, at least until after Sunday's game. So there's a sure shot. I feel good about it. How about you?
I feel great. And remember, these are informational nuggets for entertainment purposes only. We don't encourage you to bet any more than you have to lose. And if you think that there is a problem, call our friends at 1-800-GAMBLER. Remember, don't touch the mortgage. Don't touch the kids' college fund. But make sure you touch that computer and join us next week for the Sure Shot. That's Chad. I'm Mark. Deuces.